If you've been thinking about getting serious with your money, like actually serious, now's the time. The Motley Fool is offering new members 50% off their iconic stock recommendation service, Stock Advisor. This is the same service that's crushed the market with recommendations that have returned 1,057% since inception, compared to the S&P 500's 180% over that same period. This isn't guesswork. The Motley Fool has a track record of finding companies before they become household names. So if you want to invest smarter and you like saving money while doing it, go to fool.com/listen to claim your 50% off discount off a 1-year term of Stock Advisor. Again, that's fool.com/listen. Returns of 1,057% are from the Motley Fool's product Stock Advisor and measured against S&P 500 returns of 180% as of July 10th, 2025. Past performance is not an indicator of future results. All investing involves a risk of loss. Individual investment results may vary.
Your kids could get free or low-cost health coverage from Medicaid or CHIP. Even if you've applied before, they may be eligible now. Kids up to age 19 are covered for checkups, vaccines, dentist visits, hospital care, and more. And if they already have Medicaid or CHIP, remember to renew every year. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Giant claw. That's
what it is. The giant claw. Yeah.
Thank you. Shoo.
It's a fabulous movie.
I did a little video essay about it for Arrow.
Oh, sweet.
I just love the way it looks, man.
Fucking sweet.
I know. Speaking of sweet, this is the Culture Cast, and we're talking about Sharky's Machine. We're joined by my good friends Richard Hatem from the West Coast, who's currently muted, Mike White of the Projection Booth podcast, who's not muted.
Isn't that the same shirt you wore last night?
It is.
Nice.
This is what happens when you're on vacation at home. You don't have to change your clothes. I was waiting for one of you to notice. And Cullen looking scared. Cullen Gallagher of Pulp Serenade.
Howdy.
Hey, man. I haven't left my house in a couple days. What's your point? You know what they say? Soon I'll be pissing in jars. Howard Hughes style.
It seems like a very lovely house from what I have seen.
Yeah. At least one room of it.
That was the before times. You should see it now.
I've seen 2 rooms.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because the kitchen.
That's true. I will tell you that if I was the kind of person who lived in a messy house, you would not know. But I live in a clean house. So you know I live in a fucking clean house. Richard is joining us. I didn't let him interject, but he is here from the West Coast, as always.
Checking in, I am here, present and accounted for.
So Richard and Cullen programmed this month, and they picked all Burton Reynolds films. We talked a little bit about Smokey and the Bandit, and Mike is probably wishing he had been on that podcast because, boy, we're here to talk about Sharky's Machine.
Orion Pictures presents Burt Reynolds in Sharky's Machine.
If you don't get out now, I'm going to have to call the police.
I am the police. Sharky, Vice.
They were just street cops until they teamed up with Sharky and became Sharky's Machine.
7 ladies. One's got her hooks into Hodgkins, and that's the one the department won't let us touch on. Doesn't that tell you anything? $1,000 a night. Is that right? Is that what they get? I want to watch her. Found the clock. Who? Domino with an E. Domino. So waste, you? Busting hookers? The last casualty they had in Vice was a suicide. What the hell are we doing? Well, we're here to arrest certain that might be offering to perform sexual acts for money.
The man with the smiling eyes.
Sharky, Vice.
Low-life creep.
Even if there is one guy squeezing this town, he's too high to reach. Great reputation here. Slave trade. They buy him, kidnap him, then they break him down, drugs, rape, whatever the hell it takes, and then they sell him. Who is that? Tim and his brother, Albert Scarelli. You're an outcast about to lose that badge of yours.
You're a strange guy, Sharky.
Yeah, that's what everybody says. You know you got a big communication problem here, Sharky. You want you dead.
Then I am dead.
Where is Domino?
You should have just brought the girl in.
Nobody leans on Sharky's machine.
Cullen, you were not here for this, but I think that there are at least two of us who were not a fan of this film, just leading off. But I'm curious, Cullen and Richard, why did y'all pick this film?
Well, I'll start really quick. I'd never seen it before. So,
okay.
And there's a couple that I've never seen. In fact, a small handful. So this was an opportunity for me to sort of kind of fill in some blanks in the oeuvre of an actor who I do enjoy. And I'd heard about this one. My wife, Susan, is from Atlanta. Her dad technically is in this movie.
Whoa.
And because he was an actor, and we were trying to find him because we understood that he was in one of the bullpen scenes down in the basement where the vice cops hang out. So we were very slowly going through wait, is that him? Is that him? Is that him? We couldn't find him, but we know that he was in the movie. He has since passed on. The joke about her dad is that if you were describing him as an actor, you'd go, well, he's a Charles Durning type.
But yet not Charles Durning, ladies and gentlemen, the guy who happens to, just be in this movie.
Right. In those exact same scenes. So I don't know. Anyway, he was there. She's from Atlanta. We're familiar with the cylindrical hotel that features prominently. So there was, she and I watched it together the other night in preparation for the podcast. So anyway, that's why I chose it. Cullen?
I love the movie. I think it's a really kind of strange but interesting, sort of noir type movie. I like Burt as a director. I think it's a little bit different from a lot of the films he's most famous for. It seemed like a good, balance to the other films that we picked, because we picked, of course, the two big ones, Deliverance and Smokey and the Bandit, which if you're going to watch, if you've never seen Burt Reynolds movies, which you hadn't, Chris.
Well, and if you've never seen those movies at all, I mean,
And then trying to pick other ones, Lucky Lady is something that's very special to me. And this one just seemed, different. Richard hadn't seen it. You hadn't seen it.
Well, and it feels like it represents like a sub genre within his, he did 2 or 3 at least, I think, movies that were sort of like this, like cop movies, right? Like he did Heat and was Stick kind of like a cop thing also? I can't quite remember.
Yeah, I mean, Stick is like Elmore Leonard, but that's like, it's kind of like eccentric. This one was a little bit more serious, and I wanted to pick a movie that Burt had also directed.
Oh, there you go. Because, this was his third after Gator and The End.
So, Mr. White, since you and I are the two gentlemen here, other than Richard, who hadn't seen it but was not involved in the picking committee, I am curious, Mr. White, what did you think? First time watching The Machine of Sharky?
I think I'd seen it before, but if I had, it'd been a long time ago, and I was probably way too young for it. I mostly remember it because of the stunt at the end. But it's so funny because it is so fast. I really thought, wow, we are really going to see, this is going to be this spectacular stunt. I remember it being on I can't remember that show that Tom Bosley used to narrate about Hollywood, and just how they talked about the big airbag, and it was, I can't remember, was this before Hooper? Because I always associate stunts with Burt Reynolds.
Hooper was
the official.
I think this is after.
This is after
Okay,
Hooper,
yeah.
isn't it?
All right.
I believe.
Because Hooper was right after Smokey and the Bandit.
Oh, that's right. That's right. But yeah, I was just like, okay, great. It's going to be this fantastic stunt in here. And I mean, Hans Gruber takes a long time to fall from the top of the Nakatomi Plaza, and Henry Silva does not take that long to fall off of this. And he's obviously a dummy the second time you see it.
Oh yeah, that second shot, it's got the arms a wiggling, as they would say.
But what a cast. Yeah. I love the cast in this movie.
Yeah.
I kind of wish it had just been a little tighter. There are a couple times where it's just like, who's the villain now? Is it this guy? Is it this guy? And it feels very, very literary. I can see, Cullen, why you would like this, because it does feel very much like I would like to read the book of it because I feel like there's probably a lot more to the book and a lot more to the character. I just felt like I was getting a taste of Sharky and his machine, and I would really like to have much more of that. And if memory serves, this is the first of a series. I think there's a few more that the same author wrote. Is that correct?
I'm actually not sure. I hadn't looked into it being a series. It is.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and I, we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Dev Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production podcast network. We hope to see you online.
This is a book I've wanted to read. One thing I thought was interesting, and I hope you all can help me figure this out. The first third, to me, this movie seems kind of fragmentary.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that aspect, but I can understand why it's a little disorienting. The first third seems like your sort of archetypal, rogue cop who gets punished for kind of being a really bad police officer and screwing up, and somebody, people get killed and hurt. The second,
Cullen, it's because he plays by his own rules. Okay?
You're a dangerous outlaw, Sharky. Now turn in your badge and your gun. I don't want to see you on this force again.
And then it kind of becomes a Rear Window, and then it kind of becomes Laura. But I'm trying to figure out what would the first third with the cop being sort of demoted. What is the archetype for that plot?
It feels very Dirty Harry, yeah. I mean, I was reminded with the bus stuff, I was reminded a little bit of The Laughing Policeman and a few other movies, but yeah, it felt very Dirty Harry to me as well, Richard.
Yeah.
And I feel like each of those segments feels like it's directed very differently.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're all kind of zeroing in on something I felt pretty strongly, which was tonally, it kind of was lurching all over the landscape.
Yes.
And it wasn't that any one of those lurches was the bad one or one I really didn't like and I loved another one, but it for me it was sort of hard to settle in, and I think I actually got distracted because I didn't know he directed it, and I also didn't know it was his third directorial effort. I thought it was his first, so I was watching it a little bit like, okay, so this is a guy first time behind the camera, and he is just going to use every idea he's ever had for every scene and everything, and no one's going to stop him because it's 1981 and it's Burt Reynolds, and they're like, dude, you can do whatever you want. You can show your home movies, and we're going to make some money. So no one's really going to, hold your hand and say no. So that's one of the lenses I was watching this movie through, and it led me to believe that he was not in full control of the material.
Well, I will say, as the third person out of the 4 of us who had never seen it before, I think that everything that everyone has said up to this point, especially the fragmentary nature of the story, Cullen, like you mentioned, just right out of the gate, it is a very fragmented story. I think that maybe reining in one of those 3 stories, or even not doing away with it, but you could have done away with the beginning part a little bit easier. I think it just needed to be tightened up. I mean, the problem is it's a 2-hour movie and it feels like it. You know,
Yep.
it's
Everyone loves it. It feels pretty short to me. I watched it twice. I've seen it many times before that. But.
See, here's the issue. This may be like, oh God, what was that fucking movie that we just watched in February, which was not that recently?
Rage in Harlem?
Rage in Harlem. This feels kind of like Rage in Harlem. Because so I genuinely didn't know where that movie was going, and I didn't know where this movie... I mean, I kind of knew where this movie was going, but like...
Do you have a feel for types of movies that I might love, Chris?
Yeah,
based on
I do.
These two movies?
Yeah, I do.
If that's the case, then I feel strongly that I did correct in picking these two, because they are personal to my taste.
I felt like Rage in Harlem... Well, a couple of things. I felt like, for some reason, I felt that Rage in Harlem had a consistent tone. Even though Forrest Whitaker played a very specific character, and other characters were playing at different levels, but for some reason, I don't know, it felt more unified. There were other aspects of this. Now I'm going to bring in the other thing, but look, we're watching these movies, we're relaying our experience. So this is the first movie of all the movies that we have ever talked about that I watched with Susan. And when you're sitting there watching it with your wife in the year 2021, you see things differently.
Yeah, there's a pretty rough scene in this movie, huh?
Oh yeah,
there's a rough scene.
I'm just here for the violence against women thing.
Me too. I love watching women getting beaten on screen.
Look, but I get, like, I'm not going to be one of those guys that's like, well, wait a second, how come a movie made 40 years ago isn't made with the sensibility of the last 2 years? I get it. I've seen, look, 81 was kind of my sweet spot. How I missed this movie, I don't know. 80 to 84, I feel like I saw 90% of every major studio release. This one I did not see. I get it. There was a lot. But during the Rear Window of it all, which was a long sequence of voyeurism, which I get, but it didn't do much in terms of plot or suspense or intrigue beyond establishing a relationship between the voyeur and the person being looked at, which is a little weird. I'm sure if I'd seen it in 1981, it would not have struck me as so creepy, but it was definitely creepy. It was also creepy because Susan kept going, "This is creepy." So I had to hit her.
It's less creepy and more titillating. Come on, Richard. You know better than that.
Look, the movie got me into a mood. I struck her. Okay. No. But then later,
I didn't strike her, but I did hit her hard.
I hit her. No, because she wouldn't tell me the guy's last name. So,
wow.
Next up, cutting off the fingers.
Yeah.
You're right. So a little like, but I'm like, okay, Susan, I know it's creepy by today's standards, but this is the way they're establishing a relationship because later on it's going to mean something. And I'm sure that's the end of the objectification of women in this movie. I'm sure we are now concluded with that.
You really spoke way too soon, pal.
Way too soon. Way too soon. I will say this, though. I was totally suckered in by the twist in the middle of the movie.
Yeah.
There's a thing that happens, and then there's a reveal. I don't want to spoil it if anyone hasn't seen the movie.
Just go ahead and spoil it, because this is a spoiler-filled podcast, brother.
But it appears that the female lead of the film dies just short of halfway through. And I was totally like, well, this is amazing. Okay, they're just really going to trash the female characters. Wow, she is just nothing but a pile of bones and flesh and blood on the ground. Okay. And then they let it roll for like, it feels like 10 minutes of the movie. I mean, it's a good chunk. And I'm just like, I don't know. I think I'm out. Like, I don't get it. And I'm watching him, and then he goes in and he's creeping around in her apartment. And we're like, Susan and I are like, what's going on here? This is getting even creepier. The woman's dead. And then the woman walks in. And I'm like, I mean, it took me a good 10 seconds to go, wait, what? Did I fall asleep? What's happening here? Did I misinterpret? Wait, what? But then they explain it, that she's living. Okay, so this woman, for anyone who doesn't know what we're saying, there's a woman that Sharky and his other cops are watching because they believe she might be involved in a sex scandal involving a gubernatorial candidate.
Remember when that's all it took?
Right. I mean, in
Much
81, this was hot
simpler
stuff.
times then, folks.
Right. Oh my God! Wait, a politician's fucking around? And he is. But she's living in this apartment with other women who are also maybe sex workers, I guess. It's sort of like when stewardesses would all live in the same apartment, and it's like, oh, I'm going to Seattle. I'll be out of town for 4 days or whatever. So
you have experience with, Richard, living with stewardesses.
I used to,
the way that they are stewardesses.
When you date a stewardess, stewardesses, and I ain't saying flight attendants. You get to know their.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week, and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Their habits. But anyway, there were women coming and going and various people, and they weren't all being established super clearly, which I thought was a fault. Now I think maybe was by design. Anyway, there was a switcheroo. And I will say they pulled that off quite skillfully. Richard Hatem, master screenwriter, totally gobsmacked.
The woman at the beginning. So there's the woman with the green eyes from
from Big Trouble in Little China.
Little China, yeah.
This is David Lopan's least favorite movie, man.
Does she get shot at the beginning?
Yeah, like in the first minute.
Okay.
He goes, hey, blind bitch, boom. And I straight up was like, well, okay.
Okay. All right. Because
I ascribed value to her from a movie that's not this one.
Right. And yeah, she's blind and there's this drug stuff going on and all this kind of thing. And then later on when they are bugging the apartment, I think it is, Sharky and the guy from All of Me, Beckenbauer, that guy.
Richard Liberty.
I love him so much.
Fletch's boss at the newspaper.
The guru from... Are you going to say it?
No.
What about the guy from...
the South American dictator from the In-Laws.
The In-Laws, yes.
What about the guy from a saucer full of loneliness, Mike?
On his face.
So when they're bugging the apartment, they turn around and there's a woman who's in silhouette. And I was just like, is that Lopan's wife again? I thought that she was back alive. So when Rachel Ward ends up dying and then coming back to life, I was like, is there just like a resurrection theme in this movie? What is going on here? So I was perplexed watching it the first time through. I ended up watching it a second time and I was like, okay, it starts to make a little bit more sense. But yeah, and you're right. The tonal things, like when they're in the vice room and
it's comedy.
The one woman is talking too loud and then she sees the guy and just quiets up. I'm just like, what is going on here? What's happening? I guess he's the pimp. And then I didn't really get the relationship between Victor and his brother, and then Henry Silva, always fucking fantastic. And then also the politician. I was like, where does the politician fit into all this stuff? And it felt like there was more to this movie, especially when they were doing the montage of them investigating and getting all the prints and all that. And then when he goes to the gubernatorial thing, I kind of liked this moment when he goes up to the guy and it's completely without dialogue. And then at one point he just goes domino. And then that becomes like a different scene. I was like, this is nice. I like that.
It was fascinating to me that they would spend so much time sort of playing through like the Rear Window voyeurism sequence was clear. I mean, it wasn't montage, but it was we're moving from day to night to the next day. I mean, we're covering a series of days and it is not, linear. I mean, it's linear, but it's not continuous. For us to experience so much of that in the moment with him, and then for them to just sort of kind of rush over a bunch of investigative beats with montage, at first seemed really upsetting to me. I'm like, what the fuck? Now that we're into the story, we're just going to play some, weird jittery jazz music. And
the score for this movie. Wow. What a score.
But I got to tell you, when that little sequence ended, I was sort of like, you know what? Fucking thank God. I think that was the smartest. I don't know if that was intended. I don't know if it was like, look, we got to cut 15 minutes. And Burt Reynolds said, well, fuck it. I'm not going to cut it from me staring at Rachel Ward. So we're going to cut it from all the boring investigation stuff. But it was kind of brilliant.
I love that sequence, but here's something. I mean, I think for better or for worse, one of the reasons I am interested in this movie is that Burt is a strange director. And I like it, but it's a little odd because, have you all seen The End? Oh, okay. I mean, that's him and Dom DeLuise, which is great, but it's this really weird black comedy where Burt Reynolds thinks that he's dying, and after a failed suicide attempt, winds up in a hospital, and Dom DeLuise keeps escaping from a straitjacket and keeps trying to help him commit suicide, and they keep failing. But Burt Reynolds said that his model for directing the movie was Lena Wertmuller in Seven Beauties. And that totally makes sense, because when he talks about it, he discusses it as this is a black comedy that, would be released as an art film in Europe, but no one in Hollywood wants to do it. And I think he pulled it off. And I think The End is a great movie. In terms of this movie, I feel like that voyeuristic sequence, whether it's successful or not, he has something that he's going for, and it's not what anyone would expect from Burt Reynolds at this point in his career. It's not like Gator. It's not like Smokey and the Bandit. And maybe it's not successful, but I do find it interesting. It's like, this is not the Burt Reynolds that people were expecting in 1981. Well,
that's what I was trying to figure out, because again, misunderstanding and thinking that it was his first directorial effort. That's what I'm sitting there thinking. I was like, well, what is he trying to make? Because at first I thought he was trying to make Dirty Harry. Then it became something else. And I'm like, oh God, what just came out? What was the big movie in 1979 that he was somehow influenced? Now, I never would have guessed in a million years, and this is based on my ignorance, that it would have been a foreign influence. I was literally like, was he trying to make is it The Godfather or some Al Pacino movie, or what movie do I not know? Is it The Deer Hunter? What is he trying to do? What is he going for?
For this, I think it's, get Rear Window. And then Burt said the reason he made this movie is because it reminded him of Laura, which was his favorite movie. So he's
right.
I think it even quotes from Laura at one point, when she comes back.
Yeah,
I think that line that she says is from Laura.
I think you're right. I feel like Burt is putting himself in these old movies, and it's kind of this fantasy for him.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. There's a couple now. Okay. But now I'll go back as a viewer watching the movie for the first time in 2021. I'm like, why is he bringing her to his childhood home? I don't quite know enough about him to understand his loneliness or what his deal is, and why this woman is striking him in such an obviously personal way. I mean, we get through the film language. There's a thing here, but intellectually, we're not given a lot to buttress that. I don't think, unless I miss something. Then they go to his childhood home where he's got pictures of her pinned up on the wall, which she sort of doesn't have a problem with, which is odd. And then something about this relationship, again, triggers him to the point where he physically attacks her. And it's hard to watch.
Yeah.
And it's also hard to watch because it seems like it's out of nowhere. We don't even feel but we knew that was coming based on the text up until now. This was inevitable. We're like, what the fuck is this? Is this just something they did in movies? Is this foreplay? No, it couldn't possibly be. Oh, no, it is. Because the next morning, guess what? She's over it. And once a man's kind of roughed her up, she kind of settles down a little and finds him charming. And that is, again, it makes you very aware of a particular movie trope, which has been in other films, that is particularly hard to swallow nowadays. Anyway,
unless it's a villainous character doing it.
Well, no. But I mean, sort of a woman who takes a man's rage and he's working his rage out on her as just a matter of course. It's like,
yeah, but my point is they wouldn't do that with protagonists anymore.
Right, exactly.
They only do that with villain antagonists now.
Well, unless he's a very, very
man
flawed protagonist, like a Bud White from LA Confidential, though I know that's still 20 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only way you do it, is like very flawed. But like Sharky, like I never get the sense of Sharky's character. So like,
well, I never get the sense that he's flawed either. By the way, he's
right? Well, yeah,
as flawed.
Yeah,
to be honest,
it kind of seems like Burt Reynolds.
Yeah,
interesting.
Which is fine. Like nothing wrong with that. Like he's a smooth operator. He's Burt Reynolds. He was a smooth operator too. That's the way I always assumed it.
Mm-hmm. I got the impression from the beginning where like he thinks he's a smooth operator. He's doing this thing, and then it just kind of goes wildly wrong, and then he gets, kicked out of his department and demoted.
But then he ultimately lands a case bigger than anyone he ever would have gotten in the department that he was in.
And he's got really good partners in Vice. I mean, again, going back to that cast of Bernie Casey and
Brian Keith,
Richard Libertini again,
and having
John Fiedler.
Oh,
Richard!
Yes. I'm
John
so
Fiedler
surprised that you didn't say Gordy the Ghoul already.
Gordy the Ghoul, man, who actually was playing different notes. I mean, he was still the same character, but his attitude was very different. He was sort of like, he was kind of ballsy. He's like, yeah, let's do this thing.
What was up with that weird thing where he goes like, oh, it must have been a sawed-off shotgun 3 inches under the legal limit. And then he says it again, like maybe 30 seconds later. I'm like, this is weird. Why is he doing this?
It was a weird stylistic thing. There were a couple lines that got repeated where characters literally repeated exactly what they said, to the point where I'm like, well, this has to be intentional.
Like when they're like at the end. Like at the end, where they're like, Burt Reynolds is like, he's like a ghost down here, and then Bernie Casey, like a moment later, is like, he's like a ghost down here, and Burt Reynolds goes, I already fucking said that.
Right.
I'm convinced that was a real take, that was like an accidental take.
There's a take in the middle of the movie during the voyeuristic sequence where Bernie Casey is telling a story about something that happened to him years ago, a case that he was investigating. And Burt Reynolds steps on his line, like literally steps on his line. It couldn't be more obvious that this is a fucked up take, but they let the camera roll and then they use that take. It's the oddest moment I've seen in a movie in a long time. And it doesn't ruin anything in a weird way because those scenes are so congenial and clearly meant to be their own thing. Like, well, when the guys are together, that's just about guy relationships and cop relationships, and it's funny and they have weird attitudes toward each other, and Richard Libertini's doing his thing, and that's all fine. And I enjoyed that, and I'd have watched a whole movie of that. But the fact that Burt Reynolds decides to use a take where he jumps on Bernie Casey's line is bizarre and kind of wonderful.
I think the thing that disappointed me the most is Richard Libertini dies off screen. Yeah. In a line that is in a scene that happens so fast that it almost gets overlooked. Because it's like he doesn't even say it outright. He's like, he's going to the big police station in the sky. Like, okay.
He's so good. This might be the best performance I've ever seen from Richard Libertini. I mean, is there a better one? He's
great in everything.
A lot of stuff in this.
Yeah.
He's doing a lot of things.
I was so confused by how and why. And I think so I did look, there is no more Sharky. I was getting it confused with an Australian kids show called Sharky's Friends. I thought that that was the second Sharky's Machine book. So first Sharky's Machine, Sharky's Friends.
They're all based on the same series of William Diehl novels.
Right. And they're all a prequel to the Baby Shark song. This is a prequel to that.
I didn't realize that he wrote the book that Primal Fear was based on. So there you go. But I was looking at the description of Sharky's Machine, and there's a lot of stuff that happens before the movie begins, like all of this stuff that takes place like in Hong Kong and yada yada. And I'm like, oh, maybe that's where the Chinese guys come in. Because I'm just like, why are there ninjas? And I know ninjas are Japanese, but I'm like, why are there ninjas in this movie beating this guy to shit? I was so confused.
With nunchucks, my guy. With
I know.
nunchucks.
Just like, this is so weird. And so maybe it has something to do with that Far East thing. And then you've got, Lopan's wife, who's also Asian. I'm just like, this is really weird. So again, that tonal thing. And yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, Cullen, when you said that Reynolds is a weird director, because there are some just bizarre choices that are happening in here, including that Street Life song at the beginning is pretty fucking rocking.
Yeah.
But it just felt kind of out of place over it. Not as out of place as some of those, like, what is it, a water harp? Some of those noises. I mean, I think might be one of the first movies I've seen, like, chronologically, that had a water harp. Like, now you can't get away from them, but it was pretty cool to really amp the tension with that.
I mean, I liked the song in the opening. I like that.
Oh, yeah. It comes up, and I like that opening shot, too. And I also like that you've got that red line, which then becomes the building, which is kind of the end of the film, that guy Henry Silva falling out of the building, and then that long helicopter shot, and then ending on Sharky on the railroad tracks walking. I thought that was pretty nice. Oh, and the other tonal thing that I just wanted to point out real quick was, after Bernie Casey's been shot and he's sitting there and they're having that conversation, some of those beats on Burt Reynolds' face, I'm just like, these are comedy beats. Like, this is funny why he is sitting here and why Bernie Casey keeps like talking to him. He's like, I want to go chase Henry Silva. And he's like, you got to kill him, man. No, I mean, really kill him. And Burt Reynolds, he can act with his face so well and give you that little like, okay, I'll go kill him if you just shut the fuck up now.
Cullen, I wanted to ask you, I've been to Atlanta a number of times. This does not look like the Atlanta I know. It's changed a lot. Does anything about this movie remind you of Atlanta when you were there?
I mean, I'm from Augusta, so I've actually never been to Atlanta.
Oh, really? So I'm the only one who has stayed in the cylindrical hotel, the Peachtree Plaza.
Yeah, as of right now.
I did not go out the window.
Why not?
That much.
You didn't have the Henry Silva suite?
I did dine at the restaurant atop the Peachtree Plaza, and I had a very dramatic event occur in that restaurant. Now it wasn't anything as dramatic as firing a gun and screaming multiple times as Henry Silva flies through a window and falls out. But,
and then cutting to your childhood home.
And then suddenly we're at the childhood home in the tire swing.
Yeah.
But I did almost, in fact, in some cases worse, I did dine there with my wife and my two kids. And as I was squeezing a lime into my gin and tonic, it went askew and hit my 11-year-old directly in the eye. And he went, ah! Screamed as the lime juice hit his eye. Now, if we'd been positioned slightly differently and if he had just tumbled backward, well, I think we all know what would have happened.
Right out the window.
Oof, I'm glad that did not happen.
Yeah. Gets talked about a lot. It was this close. This close.
It's, I don't really, Cullen, I enjoy this movie, and I probably will watch it again and enjoy it the second time more, but the strangeness with Burt Reynolds' direction with how the ending plays out, it's very odd. He just shoots him and then it like just cuts to them on the child, like the tire swings, right? Isn't that what it is? It's very odd.
If anything, I love all the points you guys are making, and I'm not arguing against them. But I guess maybe in some ways this goes to show what level of stardom Burt Reynolds had achieved by 1981, where he can do this, and this movie winds up making a lot of money. So,
and by the way, and got good reviews. I mean, generally,
it's well reviewed. It's a well reviewed film.
not like raves, but people weren't like, oh, fuck this dude. I mean, they were like, well, it's a pretty solid cop thriller. And I think for 81, it actually was. And they were actually, the reviews seemed to be viewing it as, oh, this is actually better than most cop movies because it doesn't hit all of the, like, okay, of course, all the tropes. If it hits them, it
subverts them.
Subverts them, has its own twist. So there was an appreciation for that, which again, in this moment right now, is not something I have access to as a viewer that they did. So yeah, it's I think it does suffer from the time it was made, but yeah, I mean, it's not without pleasure, and I didn't hate watching it for sure.
You know what it sort of reminds me? Have you all seen either like Fuzz or Seamus? I feel like
time ago. Yeah.
I feel like Burt was sort of pulling aspects of both of those movies. Like, I feel like some of the early stuff, in the Vice pen, that kind of feels like Fuzz, where it's like, it's a little bit gritty. It's a little bit kind of satirical, a little funny, but, it's sort of like a mixture of those sort of things. And I feel like Seamus, the Aldrich movie, kind of has like a weird, dark, it's kind of like a melancholic noir. And maybe in some ways that's why parts of his character worked for me in this movie, where I wasn't sort of putting him as like a hero or an anti-hero. Because of Seamus, I'm like, oh, Burt's fucking up. Oh yeah. Not a great guy. And I think some of those overtones from Seamus would have colored my viewing of this movie.
I'm going to say something. I'm interested in hearing all three of your reactions to this. I didn't think Burt Reynolds looked very good in this movie, which is odd because he directed it. I thought he looked weird. I thought it was like his skin tone was weird, his mustache and even his hair. Like his mustache almost didn't look like a real mustache. But I'm like, well, but it couldn't have been a fake mustache. But there are times when it's like, it looks like it's like this. Like it looked odd. It's so distinctly odd. I don't think there's any way it couldn't have been clocked by the people filming, the DP and Burt Reynolds himself. But I don't think it did him any favors as a screen icon. What do you guys think?
I mean, the last thing I saw him in, he was Sexy Man with his shirt open, and I prefer that. I prefer that. I mean, not every movie's going to be Burt Reynolds with a cowboy hat on and an open shirt with that. Oh my God in heaven! I mean, look, right? he's a good-looking guy. Ain't nobody here going to disagree with that. But I will agree, this setting of film does not play to his. Burt Reynolds is a charismatic guy, right, Cullen?
Very.
This doesn't play. This movie doesn't play to his strengths.
No, and I would agree, and I think it's something that he probably, from what I remember with interviews, he was saying he wanted to do something different to show a very different side to him. So yeah, I think Richard, I think you're right. I don't think he was trying to, sort of show off, his, charisma, his good looks.
He's trying to look like a beat cop, right?
But here's
not
the
a beat cop, but like a journeyman police officer.
Here's the thing: it didn't look authentic. In other words, it wasn't like, oh, he's
well. That's my point. Is like it's not
looked oddly He looked more authentic in Smokey and the Bandit. In this one, it looked like, is there something wrong with the amount of makeup he's wearing, or something about it? The color of his hair? Is he dyeing his hair? Something I don't know. Something looked off to me.
I didn't get that impression of it, but.
I just don't think that this kind of movie suits Burt Reynolds' look.
There was a scene in the movie that was probably what I think of as probably his worst scene, even worse than beating the shit out of Rachel Ward, was the scene where he goes to the nightclub and he goes to the is it Victor, who's got all the girls around him?
Vittorio Gassman.
Yeah.
Thank you. And he's, the bad guy's like, look, you're nothing. He
offers him Chinese food without Western intervention, Richard.
I know.
Would you like some Chinese food without Western intervention?
But he does something. This is the part that it's like Burt Reynolds is like, the one thing protecting Rachel Ward is the fact that no one knows she's still alive.
Right.
So he goes to the guy who wants to kill her and says, she's still alive. I'm like, okay, this is not a smart move. And his performance in that scene, and again, I understand it textually that this is his like, I hate you so much and I'm gonna fucking drink your blood from a boot. I get it. But man, that was not a scene that made me think, nah, Sharky, this guy knows what he's doing. He's a smart move.
You're like a turd in the commode. And I'm gonna
pull the chain. Like, wow. This is a little bit of that Dirty Harry coming in, but it's so
turd is not purple. A turd is just like you just call like turd is a turd of endearment. Like you're a turd. You call someone a turd, like stop being such a turd. But like you wouldn't call like if you walked into that room and saw that guy, you'd be like, I'm gonna tear your fucking head off and stick it on a pike and watch it wiggle around for a couple minutes. Like
right.
Not like I'm gonna flush you down the toilet like the poopy that you are. Like,
or if structurally there was a point to this. It's like, no, I am gonna go and I'm gonna provoke this guy into unthinking action. I'm doing this for a very calculated reason. I'm going to freak him out, and then he's going to make a move, and that's when we're going to nail him. I mean, I'll buy that, but that was not what we.
Well, isn't that what happens? Doesn't that inadvertently get his friends killed by doing that?
Yeah, inadvertently gets his friends killed. Yeah,
but doesn't that go back to the opening scene where Burt Reynolds is, Sharky thinks he's being smart, and people get shot on the bus. And so to me, that's something that like I kept thinking throughout the movie is he thinks he's smart, but he's not really. And like, he doesn't even find this case. Like it just sort of falls in his lap. Evidence falls in his lap. His buddies sort of find things.
Yeah.
He never really came off as like the super smart cop.
But I'll still make the argument that then don't let me surmise that the next day as I'm trying to sort of logic out what I saw. Plant your flag there. Plant your flag. Tell me this guy makes the wrong. Count on him to do the wrong thing. When the chips are down, he'll never come through.
But doesn't
Tell me that?
I feel like this opening scene does say that.
But I don't, because it was Smiley's fault. It was so clearly Smiley's fault.
Yeah.
Smiley's the asshole. So I'm like, well, that's not his fault.
And then it turns out it was Smiley all along.
But it's Burt Reynolds who makes the bus driver stop, which gets the bus driver killed.
That is fair. I did notice that.
Yes,
Straight up murks the bus driver. Like, this poor bastard. Just stop. Stop the bus. Stop. No, please don't make me stop it. He's going to shoot me. Stop the fucking bus.
Don't leave that to me as an audience member. Bring that around. Have someone say, what the fuck were you doing? You got that bus driver killed, and here's why. You are A, B, and C, audience. Pay attention. You're A, B, and C. Now, if we know that information going through, we will have some cards in our hand to interpret all the things you do after that and place it in context. But this is
the problem, Richard, is
I don't think it's fair to
it picks up at the end of that when we don't know about the first two times it happened. That's the problem.
Well,
we didn't know that there was no pretext that this was Sharky's final time to fuck up.
Well, yeah, not only that, but exactly how has he felt like, okay, I mean, again, not like this is the pinnacle of screenwriting, but in Lethal Weapon, you know exactly what the game is. It's like, okay, here's exactly what's going on with this cop. Yes, he plays by his own rules, but for this specific reason, his wife was killed. He's suicidal. Okay, that motivates what he's doing. And through that, we will now understand every decision he makes. Everyone knows it. Everyone's in on it. And you've got all your coordinates and you can map a character and then you can anticipate, oh, wait, so given what we know, is he going to do this or this? Oh, shit, I'm afraid he's going to do this, but I hope he does this. It allows the audience to participate in a character's journey. So this one didn't do that. It felt fairly generic. He's a cop who just does shit and
plays by his own rules.
And then you think he gets her killed. Someone gets killed. And then it's like, well, what are we supposed to think about? Is he a hero? Is he not? Is he just a guy? I don't know. It's 1981. I don't know.
Sharky's not a hero, in my opinion. He gets like everybody killed. Like everybody.
Yeah, Brian Keith dies.
Yeah, Brian Keith dies. Bernie Casey is alive, but worse for the wear. Richard Libertini dies. Joseph Mascolo dies. I would assume. Well, I guess Hodgkins wouldn't die, but who knows? I mean, he gets 3 people killed. 4 if you can. I mean, the bus driver, that woman. That's 2 more. So that's 5 people in the movie that he gets killed. That's a lot of people.
But don't worry, he and Rachel Ward end up on a tire swing at the end. The end.
I don't want you to think I'm dragging on this movie too much, Cullen. I didn't.
No. I mean, as I said, like, I'm not.
It is a weird movie.
All the things y'all are criticizing it for, like, totally fair game, and I'm not. You don't hear me disagreeing.
That's fair.
And
Cullen sounds like me on the Night Stalker podcast.
Like, you're not going to hear me say anything to the contrary, but yes, this is a very old show.
Can't defend the Night Stalker. I love everything about it.
Oh no,
we'll never say a crossword.
Ultimately, this is just it's a strange movie for Burt Reynolds as someone who deeply loves the guy. I kind of like it for all its flaws. The weirdness of its storytelling and how it doesn't always make sense somehow winds up staying with me, which I think might say more about me as a viewer and what sort of stories I like. But Richard, I think your comparison to Lethal Weapon is actually pretty spot on and amazing. I think that was a really good comparison.
Honestly, as far as I'm concerned, the one thing that they could have done to just change this movie and fix it, in my approximation, just take Rachel Ward's character out.
Well, but then what's motivating him? It's hard to do.
Why don't you just have his motivation be him trying to get his job back?
No, it's got to be about a woman.
Why? Doesn't have to be.
He's got someone to beat. And then
he's got someone to beat. Is that what it is? Okay.
Baby, it's 1981.
She just didn't add anything to the plot.
No.
And that's like this kind of stereotypical female character in a noir film, right, Cullen? One of two stereotypical characters.
Well, I mean, again,
I'm not going to speak to either of that. That seems like a much larger.
That is fair. It's a much larger question. I'm not going to ask the noir man that question, and we're not going to get an answer that we're going to have for 10 minutes. We're going to,
an hour. I haven't read the book, but if this landed on my desk, I might say, well, what is it about her that reminds him of himself?
Right.
And he can't save himself, but maybe he can save her. So how is she perceived within her world? And what are we going to notice that he projects this savior complex so strongly that leads to so much tragedy, but he decides everything is about saving her. And what is that thing? And you could have come up, I think, with something. So that would have been a way to go.
I take back what I said. It's just for movies in general. This is a stereotypical performance. She's just playing the damsel in distress. She does not add much to this film. And it is unfortunate because, the reason it's unfortunate is because the film drives through her character. She, like you just mentioned, Richard, she is the motivation for Burt Reynolds. Right. So they should have given her not more to do, but given her character a bigger presence.
Well, she is the nihilistic sex worker who doesn't question. It's like, of course you beat me. Of course I am an abused person. That is what I am, which is a stereotype and a trope that existed. And I understand the psychological underpinnings of it. But even there, maybe there was an opportunity to display an aspect of Sharky that feels the same way, that feels like, in some weird way, I feel the same way in my career that you feel in your career, powerless,
right?
Nihilistic, but somehow this crossing is allowing me. It's triggering something in me that I'm going to save an aspect of myself by saving you, and that's why it's so important. I never do it for me, but I can do it for an exterior motivation.
I wish we could really have pictures of our facial expressions at so many different points in this conversation.
I know.
It would be like it's wonderful counterpoint, like where eyes are going, what the mouths are doing.
Hey, Mike, I have a question for you. Since you're not on anything else this month, what is your quintessential Burt Reynolds film? Since we asked Father Malone last week, what was his answer? What did he go with?
Deliverance.
Deliverance.
He went with Malone went with Deliverance.
I mean, Smoking the Bandit is probably the right answer, but my answer is Hooper. I mean, that is the one that I always think about, and that's over on my video shelves. I think the only Burt Reynolds movie that I have that I own is Hooper. But man, I mean, I grew up on this guy's films, and not necessarily Deliverance, but like Smoking the Bandit, Stoker Ace, Hooper, the Cannonball Run films. I mean, he was such a major part. And yeah, it's funny because those are almost all comedies. And so it's interesting to see him as an action hero because my mind doesn't go there first off.
Have you seen the Hard Time trilogy?
I have not.
It's from the late 90s. I think they were either DTV or maybe made for television, but they're from like Charles Durning's and them, Bruce Dern. But it's another sort of like, sort of cop trilogy that he's done. I don't think he directed any of them.
The other one that I think about and that I think I saw multiple times, maybe even in the theater, was Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. Speaking of Charles Durning, I mean, Charles Durning's musical intro in that, the whole thing where he twists his cowboy hat and then like makes his head go that way, and
I'm gonna do
it's so good, so good.
Chris, you realize you're going to have just Burt Reynolds Month like 3 and 4.
Burt Reynolds
to catch up with all the movies that we talk about.
Burt Reynolds year.
Yeah. Here comes Gator, baby.
Burt Reynolds podcast.
I mean, that's basically like what my girlfriend has to live with.
Yeah.
There's a very good chance, like when it's my turn on movie night, that it will have Burt Reynolds, or Charles Bronson.
Or possibly Vin Diesel or Paul Walker.
I mean, those are mutually like we agree on those. I mean, I got her the Fast and Furious movies for her birthday.
That's right. Have you seen the new one yet?
Yeah. Have you all seen it?
Not yet.
So you're gonna have to give us the review right now. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, sure. So basically, 1 through 5 are the best, and I mean, it might even be in reverse order, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or maybe 5, 3, 4, 2, 1. Everything after 5 has felt like they've gone off track, even though these movies continue to make even more money every time. But I really feel like all the movies are trying to like figure out what mistake happened in the last movie and try and fix it, and it keeps getting them in a bigger hole, and they keep trying to outdo the last movie in terms of stunts and how ridiculous they are. And it's just gotten to this kind of awful place in some ways. I think this one's better than like 6, 7, and 8, but like Kurt Russell's character, I think makes no sense.
I kind of forgot that Kurt Russell was in those movies. Holy shit.
And it's like, what are you going to do with Kurt Russell? It's just like, well, he exists and he's part of this government organization and he has unlimited, technology and access and money, and he can give Vin Diesel whatever he wants. Like that's not much for like drama to
Samuel
work
L.
out.
Jackson was busy? Is that what you're saying to play that role? They were just like, Samuel L. Jackson, you're already doing the Marvel movies. You can't do it in the Fast and Furious movies.
I hadn't thought about that, but
it's kind of what it sounds like, though. Just here, having never seen anything past the 5th Fast and the Furious movie, at least not that I can remember, you just described Nick Fury in the Fast and the Furious universe.
I'm not as familiar with the MCU, but if I even, that MCU is correct.
Essentially the same thing, but for Iron Man in the MCU.
I still haven't seen Iron Man. But here's a good example. What I think Fast 5 does really well, for as ridiculous as that plot is, there is a large chunk of that movie where their problem is if we're going to do this heist, the cameras are going to see our cargo, around these corners. We need to figure out how to drive faster than the cameras can turn. And so they just set up a model and they just spend a lot of time practicing driving. That's a very practical obstacle that has to be overcome. And I think that's great. And because it gives, a problem, and then it doesn't wind up actually having to do with, the conclusion of the movie when they're just dragging this fucking huge safe down the street attached to two cars, causing a lot of damage. But there is no such practical problem in 6 through 9. Hobbs and Shaw, I don't remember all the problems. I remember enjoying that one quite a bit. But in the end, by 9, it's just cool, we're going to put some rockets on a car and go to space. That's the best part of the movie, but...
You mean the part that they essentially sourced from the fans that were like, what do you guys want to see? I don't know, these assholes go to space. Why not?
That's the funniest part. I think they could have done a lot more with that. Also, I'm glad Justin Lin is back because I think he's a much better director than for this franchise. I'm going on and on about this. I'm sorry. I think a lot about this.
I was about to say, Mike, you like the Fast and Furious movies, don't you?
Not very much.
Really?
Yeah, not really.
Richard, not you either?
I'm okay with them. I'll definitely watch them. I saw Hobbs and Shaw, and appreciated that on a very particular level that I think we talked about.
Yeah.
But I don't. There are a lot of movie series that I don't watch, and Fast and the Furious isn't one of them. I would happily. In other words, okay, let me just cut to the chase. If my 14-year-old was like,
right,
okay, it's my night to choose a movie, and I'm choosing Fast and the Furious 7, I go, fine. You know what?
No, you should tell him to pick something earlier in the franchise,
right?
Not 7.
Of course, yes. Well,
the 7, the James Wan one, which. He drains all of the color. He tries to direct it like a horror movie.
Weird. That's strange, given that that's what he does.
It's even stranger than some of Burt Reynolds' direction on Sharky's Machine.
Nice way to bring it back.
I was about to say, right back to the Machine of the Shark.
We can go back to the Fast and Furious now, but
oh God.
I think I'm not going to hate on James Wan as a director. I don't really know his work. I've seen Conjuring, and I think that might be it. Oh, I saw Death Sentence.
You haven't seen Mike's favorite Aquaman, so there's the problem right there.
I want to see Aquaman. I read an interview with him that.
No, you don't. No, you really don't. Because
so you were joking, Mike. You don't like Aquaman.
No,
that is correct. I do not like it.
I will say though, and I'm sure Mike would probably agree, it's one of the better DC movies.
Yeah, but that's how much corn is in this shit versus how much is in this shit.
Exactly. God.
Titans on HBO Max.
Coming soon,
August
season
12th.
3.
Season 3, August 12th. The trailer dropped yesterday. The long trailer. It's check it out.
We know.
I will check it out.
We heard you railing against people who are being critical of your work, sir.
I'm not railing. No, I'm not railing against them. I'm just saying you can't engage with the fandom. I would love to engage with DC fans. DC fans.
No, you would not.
No, I would. I would love to engage with them in a positive way. But DC fans show their love and devotion through vitriol.
Yeah.
And what they didn't like. And that is a kind of love. It's I value this so much. Here's what I think you got wrong. The love gets muted, and what gets amplified is the yes, but this.
Are you saying that the fans of DC are like Burt Reynolds towards Domino in this film? Just grossly abusive, but okay, they're still in love.
Yes, their love is so great that they lose control of their passion and attack the thing they love. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Great. Well, Cullen, I will tell you that this was a good choice because Mike, to your point, it's weird to see Burt Reynolds in this kind of movie for me as well, given that I only kind of know him by the small amount of things I've seen him in, which are also comedies. This movie reminded me a lot as we're coming to the close here, and I wanted to gauge your thoughts on this, Mike, of what you thought, and y'all chime in, Richard and Cullen, if you guys have seen the film I'm talking about. Reminded me a lot of Raw Deal.
Which Raw Deal?
That. He's talking about the Schwarzenegger raw deal.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I can kind of see that.
Right?
I mean, even with the bus stuff, I was thinking a little bit of John Woo's The Killer, that whole hot-handed super cop type of thing. But yeah, I can see raw deal, and it's kind of that like, I want to say like same budgetary area as well. It doesn't feel like they put a ton of money behind this,
right?
A good amount, but it isn't like they were just like, oh yeah, spend more money. So yeah.
And I mean, you know, the climax of this movie is fun. I think the climax of this movie is better than the one in Raw Deal. At least this one takes place in a well-lit room. I think, isn't the end of Raw Deal is like in like a very dark room and they're all like shooting at each other from behind things? Or am I thinking of something else? Is that not the climax of Raw Deal?
I mostly remember him playing Satisfaction and going through the junkyard shooting all the guys.
Right.
And then I remember, of course, the famous "Come to me, Harry. Come walk to me." That whole thing with our old friend, the Night Stalker,
Darren
McGavin himself. Yeah.
Have you never seen this movie, Richard?
No, I don't think
It's Schwarzenegger and Darren McGavin.
Yeah.
If you will excuse me, I have.
And Schwarzenegger plays a cop.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
A Chicago police officer, of all things.
I think Robert Davi is in it too. Is that right?
Yeah.
It's been ages since I've seen it, but I've wanted to rewatch it.
Oh, it's so good.
The cover is so cool. Good. It's got Schwarzenegger with like a machine gun. There's like blood dripping down his arm, Richard. Well, it's so cool.
I remember the cover very well.
Yeah.
The thing that always got me was that the ad campaign was, they gave him a raw deal. Nobody gives him a raw deal. And it's like, didn't you just say that they gave him a raw deal?
And don't call him Raw Deal. God. Raw Deal's cool.
Nothing will ever beat somewhere, somehow, someone's going to pay. And I believe that was Commando, wasn't it?
Oh, is it?
One of his movies, that was the thing. And there was a song, like the end credits was someone singing
somewhere, boom, boom, somehow.
Is that from Commando?
Yeah, that's the famous end music.
Oh, I always think of Commando from the ding, 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 ding.
Oh, yeah.
The steel drums. How is it that we always bring up Commando somehow, and then we're just like, why aren't we just talking about Commando?
Commando is just one of the greatest movies.
I would go out on a limb, and you know, it's oscillated so many times now between a film that I know Mike is not a huge fan of, Last Action Hero, or Commando.
No competition. Commando for me.
Commando is probably the quintessential Arnold film, followed in a close second by Running Man. But that's because Running Man has some of the best one-liners that he ever did. But Commando
what if
is just...
said, please?
I gotta go back because I haven't seen these movies since. It must be like late 80s, like early 90s. Like I remember like getting these all on like VHS.
Have you seen Total Recall recently, Cullen?
I saw that probably 10 years ago when they did a Verhoeven series at IFC Center here in New York.
Total Recall.
You at the party, Richter.
What have you been feeding it? Blondes.
Consider that a divorce.
God, I mean, Total Recall is just... Look, Schwarzenegger is amazing. How did Burt Reynolds and Schwarzenegger never work together?
I think Burt Reynolds and Clint Eastwood, after they worked together, and it was kind of a disaster. And that was also when Burt Reynolds hurt himself, right? And he eventually got addicted to pain pills.
I don't know which movie it was, but I
think it was City Heat.
It's a strange movie.
Oh yeah,
I would like to see it again.
There you go for the Reynolds cast.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, Chris, if you can do a Steven Seagal cast, can't you do a Reynolds cast with this man?
I actually, the first person I asked to be on the Steven Seagal podcast was Cullen, and Cullen turned me down because he was too busy. So I would assume the answer would still be the same for something of a similar nature, different actor, but similar nature. See,
I would probably say the same.
My answer would be too busy. I wouldn't even contemplate doing it at this point.
Wait until Cullen gets a full-time job, and then he'll be raring to go.
I mean, what y'all could just do is talk to Sharky's buddy who can do all the wiretapping and just record me in my apartment talking to myself about these movies.
There you go.
Richard Libertini, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's the podcast is there.
So, Mr. Hatem, starting with you. I know you're going to give me a hard time here because I changed it, but skip it or watch it. Sharky's Machine.
I would say skip it. This is I rarely do that, but so I feel like I've only got a small handful of skip it cards. But when there's other things to watch, personally I'm not going to put this in my top 4 or 5. So yeah.
What, for Burt Reynolds films, you mean?
Burt Reynolds, yeah. If I'm going to get someone to watch a Burt Reynolds, and I now again, I'm already assuming I'm going to like Lucky Lady. So I'm reserving a theoretical question mark spot for that. And then you can't be a responsible cineast and not have a spot for Deliverance and Smokey. And then I'm sure there'll be, people who are like, well, Boogie Nights or whatever. But it's just, I don't think there's enough here. I don't think there's anything in this movie personally that's going to make someone go, oh, Burt Reynolds. Yes, I get him now. I don't think this movie does it.
What about you, Cullen? Skip it or watch it?
I mean, I would say watch it. I will just say I love all the criticism that you guys have made, and I actually think it's a lot of fun to talk about this movie and have different perspectives. So I appreciate it. But I like it as a early 80s, neo-noir. I think it's a strange movie. It's not your typical Reynolds, but as someone who, loves him deeply, I like seeing him try and experiment and do something different, even if it's not wholly successful. I think it's at least something for, thought.
What about you, Mike?
I didn't think I was going to say this at the beginning of the episode, but I would actually say watch it, because this has been a great discussion, and there are just some really interesting things that are going on here, some really strange things. And yeah, you can't beat that cast. It is fantastic. So yeah, it's a watch it for me.
I have a question before I give my answer to Cullen and Richard. Is there, and probably Cullen is going to have an easier time answering this given how much Burt Reynolds he's watched, but maybe Richard, you'll have an answer too. Is there a better police film that Burt Reynolds is in than this one? A similar role?
Yeah.
What film would that be?
Picking. I think they're all interesting movies. I think Fuzz is a strange but interesting movie. I would say Seamus as well. I have a soft spot for those hard time movies. I think, Chris, some of your accurate criticisms of this movie will probably not. How would I put it? You might enjoy the hard time movies. I really love those. They're underrated. They're more low budget. It's Burt after the glow has gone. This is late 90s direct to video.
I know my mom bought me a copy of The Hostage Hotel at the Walmart $5 bin about a decade ago. Oh. I literally know the movie you're talking about, which is insane.
I like those. I mean, I like Seamus, which is the Aldrich movie. Also, problematic for its time. Fuzz is interesting. Maybe I'm not the right person to ask, because I tend to, like, most things, whether they're successful or not. I tend to put them all. This is all part of the Burt Ocean.
I ask because I assumed that this wasn't his only police role. There were going to be others that you were going to suggest. So for me, I'm going to say it's a light watch, and it goes to more what Mike was talking about, that there's some strange stuff going on. But I'm also very much with Richard, because what I have seen of Burt Reynolds so far, this is not like a role that I'd be like, oh yeah, I was watching Burt Reynolds movies last month. Here's some of the movies, if you haven't seen them, you might want to check out. This would be
another
like,
cop movie, Rent-A-Cop, Burt and Liza Minnelli. Their second pairing after Lucky Lady.
I mean, it sounds great.
Well, all right.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, my point is, like, if this one's not the best indicator, it's a light watch. Because if there's like a list of other things, like, okay. But to my point, it's a light watch. It has some weird stuff going on, but I don't think that the weird stuff gets too in the way of a enjoyable watch, I would say, for most people. But it's okay. It's just okay. So on that note, let's take a break and we'll play a preview for the second to last Culture Cast of Burt Reynolds July, I guess.
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
Where are you going, city boy? We'll find it.
It ain't nothing but the biggest river in the state.
These are the men. Nothing very unusual about them. Suburban guys like you or your neighbor. Nothing very unusual about them until they decided to spend one weekend canoeing down the Cohulawasi River. Ed Gentry, he runs an art service. Wife Martha has a boy, Dee. Lewis Medlock has real estate interests, talks about resettling in New Zealand or Uruguay. Drew Ballinger, he's sales supervisor for a soft drink company. Bobby Tripp, bachelor, insurance and mutual funds.
Where you going? All right, I'm looking.
These are the men who decided not to play golf that weekend. Instead, they sought the river.
Would you like to check it out?
Out there anywhere watching us right now. We ain't gonna be so nice not hard to follow dragging a corpse.
Louis, I'm gonna pull off to the side. There's something wrong. No, go on! What is it? Oh, stop it! Go ahead, I'm gonna pull in. No!
John Boorman's film of James Dickey's explosive best-selling novel.
That's right. On the next Culture Cast, we're going to be talking about a film that I have never seen that a lot of people really wanted to talk about this month. I had to really move some folks around to be on this one. We're going to be talking about Deliverance. Never seen it. So, Mike, is it good?
I remember liking it, and I think it's got a weird tone to it. I think you'll either love it or hate it.
Okay. All I know is the squeal piggy rape scene, so...
That's right.
And that John Voight is in it, and everybody knows John Voight is a very stable individual.
He's a stable genius.
He is not only a stable genius, he is friends with a stable genius. So I've been told.
What is that a reference to?
Oh, John Voight is like a huge, crazy right-wing nut now.
I think you mentioned that before, but what is the stable genius thing?
That's our former president. You don't remember him calling himself a stable genius?
Stable genius.
No.
Very stable genius.
Very
yes.
stable genius. But yeah, so instead of saying his name, we'll just refer to him as the stable genius, who happens to be friends with Robert Davi and John Voight and someone else whose name is escaping me, but John Voight is in Deliverance. So there's a lot going on. Richard and Cullen will be joining me. Josh Stewart will be joining us once again.
Sweet.
And we're going to talk about Deliverance. Until then, Mike, the Projection Booth Podcast, the Trendsetter, the most important movie podcast you could be listening to right now. Where can people find it if they want to listen to it?
You can hear my fat nasally voice over at projectionboothpodcast.com.
Richard, do you know about this shit?
That was so upsetting.
Oh, that was such
wait, what?
My God.
Oh no, what? What is this?
Someone took the time to send me a message on Instagram complaining about my fat and nasally voice. And then I was just like, okay. And then I was like, they were saying something that I do some other podcast or show. And I'm just like, yeah. And I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And it's just like, and I was like, you don't have to listen. It's just like, I can't even remember what the comeback was for that.
I thought he said, like, shouldn't you stop podcast?
Yeah, basically stop podcasting. I was like, you don't have to listen.
You were like, stop listening.
Yeah.
What a piece of shit. I mean, like,
I honestly think that someone is confusing you with someone else, Mike.
I think you might be right.
Well,
yeah.
there is such a thing like Martin Short or various comedians. Like there is a fat voice. It's usually like something. I mean, there's like a way to make it sound.
It's the spit in your jowls.
Yeah, I can't really do it, but I know
it's weird. None of us can, and I'm fat too, so weird.
But Mike, look, we were podcasting long before I saw either one of you guys.
Mike, at least, Richard. Come on.
I would not.
Well, dick pics don't count.
Dick pics don't count. Thank you, Mike, for stepping in on that one.
I will say that I would not call either of you fat. I would also say
me too.
That there is a. Well, I mean,
you want to be the meat between these pieces of bread, big fella?
Let's pull up our shirts and compare. But my I don't know how anyone would say you have a fat voice.
I'm convinced, Mike, that it's just somebody who thinks it's you, but it isn't you.
Right.
Because they're like, you don't do these other things. It's like Mike is deflecting for somebody else by accident.
Right. Well, then he finally ended up with like, that's the attitude I'd expect. Stick to the essays, fat boy. And I'm like, what the fuck essays are you talking about?
What is going on? Why are people are there's so much rage out there, and it's so easy to express it obliquely at people who you're not in a room face to face with. It's really disturbing.
So
weird. I agree, Richard. That comment really upset me, Mike. I can't understand that sort of cruelty. Like, what the fuck?
Weird. Yeah.
You know what it is? It's someone who's never made a thing in their entire life critiquing people who have to and do on a weekly basis put their content out there for other people to enjoy. And it's someone who doesn't make their own stuff, just lashing out at other people who do and are successful at it.
Yeah, I think that actually is part of the provocation. I think there is.
Don't you want to talk to me? I do nothing. Like, okay, like
it's like you. I am somehow stealing a little bit of your spotlight by. I mean, it's essentially heckling, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't this sort of modern heckling?
Yeah. But you get to like sit at your keyboard and like craft your heckle as opposed to having to be quick on your feet, which we all know if we were being heckled while doing a live show, one of the four of us would stand up and go, shut your fucking mouth in the back. I don't come to your job and knock dicks out of your mouth, motherfucker. Okay.
I would just start shouting the N-word. That's all I would do.
Ladies and gentlemen, oh my God, Mike White from the back row. Jesus Christ.
For a guy whose last name is White, that was a ballsy comment.
That's a ball. That's very Kramer of you, as they would say. Cullen, what about you? Where can people find you?
I'm still supposed to be at pulp-serenade.com, but supposed to be there because I'm still behind on the essay that I was behind when we recorded last week. And I don't think it'll be done by the time we record next week.
Stick to the essays, fat boy.
Mike took it back. Right then and there, Mike fucking took it back. in-person live. Look at that.
I'm trying to get back to it, but I've got to talk about movies with my friends.
So, boy, don't let us stop you, because we'd love to talk to you about movies. So
I look forward to it.
Yeah, I think we all do. That's why we're all here. What about you, Richard? Where can people find you? If people want to critique the things that you make online.
Oh, get on Twitter, hashtag DC anything, and fire away.
It's true.
But having said that, the trailer, a longer, like 2.5 minute trailer for season 3, dropped yesterday. So on July 14th. So anyway, if you're listening to this, you can go online, get a look at what season 3 of DC Titans has in store for you. It's on HBO Max, but the first 2 seasons are available on TBS and on HBO Max. Catch up on the first 2 seasons, and on August 12th, launch right in with the rest of us into season 3. We're excited about season 4.
August 12th is blank in my calendar now.
Oh, look at that. So what's going to happen in between now and then is everyone that you know that talks about movies with you is going to watch your show. And then the next time we talk to you, we're going to be like, so Richard, I have questions here. Many questions about give me your critiques as opposed to just screaming and calling me an asshole on Twitter in perpetuity.
As long as something's already aired, if we're talking about episodes that have aired, I'll try to.
Oh, we're not trying to. What are we going to do? DC leaks?
Love.
We're going to leak information online.
Well, no,
unknown source at Warner Brothers says.
I have to remind myself, because for me the season's been over for a long time,
right?
And I'll just go, well, when so and so, kills so and so, and then it's like, wait, what the fuck? And then suddenly I got Warner Brothers lawyers up my ass. Anyway, but that happens all the time. By the way, we have people who stalk the sets up in Toronto, photograph actors. They just sort of wander up like they're part of the crew, and they start photographing people in costumes and then posting it online. And it's like, oh, well, I guess everyone knows that character or that outfit or that whatever is coming up. So it's a little weird. And DC is like, guys, you got to really clamp down on this. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Titans, watch it. It's coming up. More stuff.
As for me, cstachiw.com is where you can find my link tree. I do a bunch of other podcasts, one with Richard and Mike. Cullen is on here from time to time. Like we mentioned, Cullen and I are a bit too busy to do our own thing, but Cullen is on this entire month, which is, I'm always happy to get to talk to the same people every week for a couple weeks. Mike knows it with the Mike White March. It's a lot of fun. So, you can find me there, and patreon.com/culturecast. Big thanks to the Patreon supporters as always, to Richard and Cullen, and to Mike, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.